Please welcome to the studio, Cape Girardeau Mayor Stacy Kinder. Hi, Stacy.
Hi, good morning.
Hot seat, my dear.
Hey, right on.
Okay, well, she's here for it. So she has voluntarily come in to answer. Now, y'all have been ripping me a new one, like I have somehow put this on the ballot. But a lot of people are worried about the ballot language. We're going to start with that because that's the biggest question I get. There's no guarantee there that y'all are not going to raise the price every single year. Now, in private, we've conversed, not conversated, because that's not a word, about the fact that would be political suicide to do that, to just continually raise taxes or raise rates or do these sorts of things. Right. That would be crazy for you guys to do that, but there's no guarantee that you won't.
And we've gotten a lot of questions about that. What I like to do is just remind everyone, this is not a tax that we're talking about. We have a number of different tax initiatives here that do have a sunset. Hey, this is going to run for 5 years, and then the voters will need to revote, that kind of thing. These are our water rates that we're talking about, and it's just different. The water system is a utility. It is a business. And as such, just in Cape Girardeau, it's city-owned. In other places, doesn't have to be city-owned, but here it is. But it has to be run like a business. And so what we're trying to tell people is that we have what we know are some very large upgrades and expansions needed. Those are very expensive, as we can all, I think, understand. And this financial plan that we've rolled out is what we believe will pay for those needed upgrades while keeping our rates as low as possible to do that important work.
And I want to remind everybody that this has been a problem for a while that just didn't get addressed.
Well, we know probably 12 years ago there was a study done in which the city was told, hey, Cape Girardeau, you're going to have capacity problems soon.
Because we're growing too,
right? And so, and so that problem has been looming for a long time, but it is here on our doorstep now. We simply can't ignore it anymore. Every summer now, for the past few summers, we are hitting our max capacity at water production. Right now, we are in that stage, and so, I'll go back a couple months. We had one of our clarifiers went down. It broke. I won't go into the details of it, but it was offline for over a month. If that had happened now in July, where we're having max capacity, we all would be dealing with water shortages. Thankfully, it was a few months ago in the spring, and our water usage as a city just wasn't as high. But those are the issues that we're needing people to understand are happening.
Now, what people are saying to me is that they want a sunset on this. They don't want you to be able to raise their water rates 15% every year, because if you do, you think you have a lot of people getting their water shut off now?
Sure. Yes, and I certainly understand that. I totally understand it. No one,
but what are you going to do about it?
Well, here's the issue. Again, this is a business. The city, every city gets blamed for not operating better like a business at times. This is one of those situations where it is extremely appropriate and necessary that we do operate like a business. And so we have to bring in the revenue that will operate the business. That's what this is all about. We have to be able to, operate, maintain, and also bring in these upgrades.
It's Alliance Water, right?
Alliance Water is who the city has hired for 30 years now to manage and operate on a daily basis. They have done yeoman's work over the years in repairing, patching, keeping things under budget, but they don't bring in the funding to do expansion or large.
They just take care of it.
They take care, and when water mains break, they fix them. But the city is really, as the owner of the system, in charge of raising the revenue needed. Regarding the sunset, I totally get it, but we simply can't do that with a rate issue.
Can we make it less than 15%?
Yes, absolutely. We can make it zero. And so going back over the past 20 years, we've always had a 5% increase cap. We have not even used 5% every year. We have a graph that shows.
So why 15 now then? I know that because we're in an emergency situation, but
Yes.
can we say 15 for 1 year? The ballot language
Yes.
is what's really sticking in people's craw.
Well, so I'll explain why 15%. What that does is if we know that if we do a 15% increase over the next 3 years and then go back down to 5%, that will fund what we know now to be the needs.
Can you guys promise not to raise solid waste and sewer then?
We are not planning to raise solid waste or sewer.
Okay.
And those two systems do not have the massive upgrades and improvement needs that the water system does.
Because that's part of the bill. So when people see the bill, it's all as one. So if
Yes.
those went up too, people would crap their pants.
Agreed. Yes.
Yeah.
All I can say is there are no plans to do that because the need isn't there in those two systems.
Okay.
What we have been doing is for the past few years, we've been doing a 5% increase across the board. But there is no need to do much more than that in those other two systems. The water system is where the huge need is right now.
Why a special election? A lot of the rumors are you did this at a cost that they thought was extremely high to the people after the people spoke in November and said, no, we don't want this because our water bills just went up exponentially before that. Mine went from $60 a month to $85 a month, and my usage didn't change.
Well, okay. I, without looking at your bill, I can't really say, but
Yeah.
there has been a 5% annual increase limit.
Okay.
So it.
I mean, I live in a tiny house and it's
Yeah.
two people,
Yeah.
so I'm not a high water user.
Okay, but your former question was about the.
Well, it jumped up really fast, and then it went on the ballot, and people
Yeah,
voted
the ballot,
no because
okay.
it was like, y'all
the ballot
just took
schedule.
a bunch of money. Yeah.
All right, so the ballot issue, let's go back to November. We put it on the November 24 ballot because that was as soon as we could after amassing all of this information. We've had numerous studies done. In 2022, there was a huge facility plan that was finalized and created, basically a report that has provided all the information, to put this proposal forward. And it took until then. That was as soon as we could roll this whole message out. And we thought that we needed to do that as soon as possible because of the crucial nature of all of this. Knowing, though, that in November it was a huge election, that was not the best time to do a municipal issue on the ballot. Then basically we went back. That failed. I think the vote was like 9,500 against. 7,000 people voted yes, though, in that election, which gave us some positive, feedback. But the negative feedback, certainly many people don't want to see any raises in anything. Understandable. Nobody loves that ever. But we reconfigured a little bit. And this ballot language is different. It took a little time to figure that out. But also then in April, we had the Transportation Trust Fund sales tax initiative on the ballot and didn't necessarily want to interfere with that either. That is a crucial infrastructure initiative that we've had going on here for 30 plus years.
People are good
pertaining to
good
streets.
With that. They don't mind that because they get that one. They understand that one.
And so, Fawn, I think that hits the key problem here. Water issues, water infrastructure, we've never talked about that really in the city. Street infrastructure, we've been talking about pretty clearly for 30 years. People get it. There's some learning every time it comes up on the ballot, but people are familiar with that.
Right.
People aren't familiar with this, and all of a sudden the question is, wait, why do we have to pay anything for water? Unfortunately, it's just taken a lot of time to gather all this information and try to explain this very multifaceted issue.
I have a lot of questions coming in.
Bring 'em
You've
on.
seen me checking
Bring 'em on.
it out, but we're running out of time, so our answers have to be shorter. Okay, why did we have a special election in August? It's expensive. Why? Why didn't we wait until? Because we can't wait. Is that why?
We could have, but quite frankly, we believe the urgency of this issue required us to get it back on the ballot as soon as we could.
Okay. 15% 3 years in a row is a net compound of 52% total over a 3-year span. That's what they're saying. 52% increase in a water bill. That's a lot.
In 3 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are we going to do that? Because if we are, everyone's going to shut their water off.
Well, we're just telling you that's what needs to happen to fund the things that we know need to happen. Mm-hmm. There are options. If we don't do this, then we know there are going to be consequences by not making those improvements and expansion.
Okay, but you said you're not planning on 15% each year, but the ballot language says that you can if you want to.
Well, and that speaks to what the charter currently says. There's really just one sentence in the charter that this whole thing is based on, which says that for the city's utilities, there's a 5% annual increase allowed. Mm-hmm. At times we've done 0, at times we've done 2%, 5%. Mm-hmm. And so we're just changing that one sentence to say any given year we can have up to a 15% increase.
Now, I just want to put in something, and you can all hate on me if you want to, because when we have politicians on air, y'all lump them all together and you act like one politician is the same as the one standing next to them. Not all politicians are the same. Like with TTF, they trust you on this one. With this one, they're worried because there's no sunset. They're worried because it's such a huge increase for people who want a fixed income. People are worried because you've got the graph, you've got the sheet of paper that shows, the 15% and what the rate will be at the end of that. But what people got really mad about was the comparison of us to St. Louis and other places. They're like, we don't live there, and the cost of living is higher here than anywhere else in the state when it comes to housing and everything else. So they're concerned that you say you're not going to do 15% every year, but they feel like you are because they don't trust.
Well, I do, believe me. I hear
I'm the
that.
Messenger here.
Sure, I hear that message all the time.
Yeah.
I understand that. All I can say is, look, folks, we have a lot of data. There's been a lot of time and money spent on getting professional opinions in all of this, not just on the financial side, but on the the actual engineering side of things. What is needed? All I can really do is try to help present all this information to the public.
Yeah.
There's no one in the city getting rich off of this plan.
Right.
There's really, politically speaking, there's no reason for us to try to promote this. It's because it's concerning to people. The only reason we're talking about this is because the huge need is there, and we are very, very, very concerned about the water system and the state of it, and what would happen if we don't bring these upgrades.
I'm going to delete some of these promos because we're going to go over on time, because I have to ask these other two questions or people are not going to respect me anymore. People do not understand why a stormwater proposal that was put forth to the people that was designated for a certain thing, including the youth sports park, since it has the word water in it, they don't understand why the allocations can't be reallocated if we are in such an emergency.
Okay. Well, first, I would encourage everyone to go to the city website, cityofcape.org, and you can go to look at PRS2, Parks and Stormwater Tax 2, which was a sales tax initiative passed in 2018. I think that's what you're referring to. That was voter approved. It's a small portion of our sales tax that we pay on everything we buy, and that goes to very specific projects. Within that tax initiative, there were specific projects laid out in both the Parks Department and in stormwater projects. Those are all listed. If you go to the website, you can find it, and you can see exactly what those issues what those projects were. Yeah. Now, they're stormwater projects. In other words, a lot of culverts, a lot of places where water gathers. There was a massive project at Capahal Park on Perryville Road and Broadway. Huge project. That was part of PRS2. So they're stormwater projects. They are not clean water projects listed in
water infrastructure. But they're really mad that we have, people are saying, if we get one more, I'm not going to use their language, like bike and walking trail, or if we get one more softball field, or if we get one more this or one more that, or an upgrade to this or an upgrade to that, why is this city choosing to fund the things that they fund instead of putting it towards this?
Okay. So the city has around 30 different funds which have specific revenue and they have specific expenses for them. In most cases, the expenses can only be for the thing that is listed for that fund. So, for example,
people don't understand that.
I know it's a complicated thing. It really is, and we have many funds, and so most of the time, the money coming into that certain fund can only be used for a very specific thing. And so that's where, our city, our audits are important. That's what the audit does, is judge whether the city is using that revenue appropriately. Because that's an important thing for a city. If we just collect all this different money and we say, hey, voters, approve this, and then we use that money for something else, that's bad. It's bad politically. It's bad financially. That's just not how a city can operate. It's not how the city of Cape operates. So that money for the youth ball fields was part of that original plan, and that's what it's being used for.
And it will bring revenue to the city, just to say.
Yes.
People are saying if they raise our rates more than 15% in the second year, they're all going to go. That's what somebody just said.
So we would not be able to raise anything more than 15%. That's the question here. Right now, we can't raise anything more than 5% because that's what the charter says. And so this ballot question is, would you allow us to raise them up to 15%? And so we would never be able to raise anything over 15% in a given year. And I want to add one more thing. People are suggesting we should, quote, jack up the prices for certain companies, the biggest users, etc.
Yep. I've heard that 1,000 times.
We can't do that, literally, because right now our charter says we can only raise increases up to 5%. We can't jack up anybody's anything because we have a 5%
You can just
cap.
Charge them for their usage. I
Yes,
mean, if they're
that's what we
using
do.
massive amounts and they're paying more money.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the biggest water users pay extraordinary amounts every month in water, but we can't increase their rates more than 5% in a year. We can't jack up anybody's prices on anything because of this limitation. We also thought it was important to keep a cap. Knowing that the community has these concerns, many cities do not have any cap whatsoever.
Nobody cares about other cities.
I know. Jackson doesn't have a cap. And they've been, sounds like, very responsible in incremental increases. That's certainly our plan.
Okay. Well, I feel like this needs to be done. I mean, we have to fix the water. We have to. There's just no other way around it. People are upset. They say you all waste money locking bathrooms all day, all night, or whatever. They're spending this much money letting people drive city vehicles when they should be driving their own vehicles. They think there's waste. That's another thing I just got.
I suspect that is the concern about every government everywhere. It just is. And I guess all I can say to that is, if you're really concerned about the numbers, if you're really concerned about, we have all of that information. If anybody would like to have a conversation with me, my cell phone is listed on the city website. Call me up anytime. I will try to get you whatever facts you're looking for. But I'm just telling you what we've tried to do, as we always do, is base all of this on the facts and the data and the situation on the ground.
Yeah. It's never fun to be the person in the hot seat when catastrophic things happen. It's just, I liken it to in Texas when the grid went down, everybody blamed the boss. I'm like, well, you have 17,250 more illegals on every block in Texas. So obviously your usage is higher. So of course your grid's going to go down. It wasn't set for that many people. Illegals aren't the problem here. But what I'm saying is the water system cannot handle any more usage.
Well,
we've got to do something.
We are tapped out. We are going beyond our maximum.
Unintended.
Yeah, we're going beyond our maximum load every summer now.
Okay.
And we're just trying to tell people a crisis is coming if we do not deal with this.
So if people vote yes and you raise their bill 15% every year, they're going to freak out.
Sure. I would too. I don't want to see my bills raised 15% every year.
Which is like about $6 a household.
Yeah.
They were quoting 4, but that's not, that math is fuzzy.
Well,
it's more like 6.
What the city has to do every year is communicate what it needs, why it's spending the money it's spending, why it's important. And that's what we're trying to do here. If there have been issues in the past where that wasn't done as well, I don't know. I can't speak to that. But we've been talking about this for a solid year.
Right.
And we're just really trying to get the facts out to people. If you struggle to understand, maybe believe the problems at the water treatment plant, go out there. You can go. They have tours every Friday afternoon. If you'd like to go out there and speak to the folks running the water plant, they will show you and tell you clearly.
Well, somebody just said you're intentionally breaking water mains to prove that you have a problem.
Oh my goodness! You know
ridiculous.
what? I can. Not only ridiculous, that is the most offensive thing I've ever heard.
Yeah,
it really is.
That
is not
just
happening.
Juvenile,
and it's so silly. I don't even want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Nobody's going to break a water main on purpose.
No.
I do know that you try to get to the water main breaks as quickly as possible to try to fix them before they turn into a boil water order.
Absolutely.
I know that,
well,
that takes manpower and money.
It does. And Alliance, apparently, we have more water main breaks than we do boil water advisories because I've learned they try to get to the break very quickly and then actually try to fix it under pressure so that we don't. So that's why sometimes you see a lot of water, unfortunately, running down the street.
It's like putting your thumb over the hose, trying to stop.
When they have to stop the pressure or stop the water flow, that's where we have to issue the boil water advisory. And so they try to keep the water flowing while they're fixing it. And sometimes that does mean that extra water is leaked out, and you might see a geyser, but they do a great job keeping us running.
Yeah,
sure.
And remember, Alliance just does the work. They do not own the company.
Correct.
I have 1 minute left. There is the threat of selling our water system to someone else. People are PO'd about that sentiment.
Yeah, we certainly haven't wanted to lead with that issue. That is not something anyone in the city wants to see happen. It is not. It is not part of our plan. Last year, we did have several companies approach the city unsolicited. And say, hey, we are here. We know you have a water problem. We'd be happy to talk. Many cities do have their water system owned by a private company. The downside, first of all, that private company would do exactly what the city is doing in terms of operating, managing, etc. The downside, though, of a private company is they do not need voter approval for any kind of rate hike. We know that think about any other utility that's not city owned.
People think that's a threat, though. People are looking at it as a threat.
Unfortunately, it's a possible consequence if we do not get the public support to do these incremental rate increases, and that's what this is. Even 15% will actually look small compared to what a private company might come in and do. And so we haven't wanted to lead with this issue because I don't want it to sound like a threat, but it is a very real possibility. And we just have to help everybody understand that. That's the reality. The choice is not to either do all this or continue down the same path and maybe we end up with bad water soon. That is not an option for the city of Cape. We would rather have expensive good water than no water or bad water.
All right. If you want to get a hold of Stacy, her cell number is on the city website. Please do not inundate her with the same questions I just asked because you've all sent them to me, and I told you I would ask them, and I did, and I worded them the exact way that they said them without the curse words. So, Stacy, you're under fire. The vote is coming up under 5th, and you just happen to be you just happen to be the mayor at the time when this happened. Well, and I know that people are going to blame you for a lot of things that are completely out of your control, but I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the city council, and they may see a lot of people running against them in the very near future if this passes.
Well, that may certainly be. That's the nature of politics. With this issue and several others, I've just always believed that the best and only job I can do as mayor is to let people understand what's going on and why changes are needed. We hate to think about increases in anything, but in this case, it is needed, and the consequences of not doing it are worse than paying a few extra bucks for water.
Well, and all the stats and statistics we did when Kevin Greaser was on my show, to the point of nauseum, because when you start doing stats and statistics, drool starts to run off my chin, and I don't even hear what you're saying anymore because math is hard. But they're all on the city website. You can look at the information. You can look at what's going on. You can find the people you need to contact. You can yell at the appropriate people. I am not your sounding board anymore. I told you I would get her on the air.
Yes.
Leave me alone on this now.
Fawn is done.
I'm done.
You can call the mayor directly.
Call the mayor.
If you want to leave a message and cuss me out, that's fine. I probably won't call you back if you use nasty words. But we are happy to talk with anybody about this.
All right. Well, Stacy, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate you.